Hello, how are you? I bring greetings to everyone who is watching me at this point in time, and perhaps those who are listening to the audio version of the series of teachings on marriage and marital relationships. When we left off in the third video, we're dealing with qualities of a would-be spouse, and I had to take, both for the men and the women together, the male and the female. The same qualities that are good enough for the male are also good enough for the female. So we mentioned a couple of things, talked about spiritual IQ, the physical IQ. We mentioned someone industriousness. We also talked about trustworthiness and honesty. Today in this fourth video, we want to begin by listing the following. One is forgiving and forbearing spirit. There are a lot of things, marriage cannot last. Test check these things under the list of the DAM, direct assessment method. Test check these things. Is he forgiving? Is she forgiving? Offenses will definitely come when two people come together. There are differences in cultural background, educational exposure, all kind of things. The intelligent quotient is different. The spiritual IQ is different for those who are spiritually inclined. They come together. There are bound to be, some misunderstandings. No, I mean missing what to understand. Misunderstanding simply means missing what to understand. Somebody understands something, but he has missed out on what ought to be understood. So it's bound to happen in marriage. It does happen. It will happen, even in your own when you get married. And for those who are already married watching me, of course you know that you're experiencing misunderstanding. Somebody is missing out what you to understand. That's not a crime. It's not an offense. Just a matter of taking time to explain and realigning your partner to what ought to believe. Somebody missed out on something. Well, that's human. We do sometimes, okay? So if that happens, and when that happens, of course, I'm not going to say if. When that happens, is the partner forgiving? Is he forbearing type? There are things you forgive and you can easily forget. There are things that you forgive and you don't easily forget them. You have to forbear. So the basic difference here is that forgiving is easy to give up the offense and not even remember it anymore. But there are things that, if there's a scar, for instance, you had a physical scar on the body, you were injured by a partner for one thing or the other, perhaps unintentionally. You're going to forgive your spouse, but you're going to be forbear. Each time you look at the scar on your body, you will know something happened. You forbear. So test check that in your spouse. Is he forgiving and forbearing? Over this period of time you've had to interact yourself, as a matter of fact, I do not let my counselees get into marriage less than 6 to 9 months. They must have what we call courtship, not dating. Dating, from what I see today, is instrumental wifery, instrumental marriage. Basically everything that will be found in the marriage is already, happening when they are not yet married. And unfortunately, the ladies don't know that they're losing out. They are losing out, because the young man at 18, 19, young man can get to marry. But when you are being ruined because of instrumental wifery, or what they call, contract marriage, when you've been ruined as a lady, here you are. So the issue is this person forbearing? Does he have a forbearing spirit? Very, very important. Next, you look at, is he generous and selfless? Is this person generous and selfless? A lot of people are so egocentric. Everything is attracting to themselves. You didn't buy this for me. You didn't bring this for me. You didn't do this for me. Not asking, what have I done to my spouse? What have I done to the benefit of my spouse, for the benefit of my spouse, or his relatives, or whatever? A lot of people just want me, 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 and that's what is terrible. I remember in Luke chapter 16, there is a man there that, within a space of about 5, 6 verses of scripture, he had used me, mine, I over 8 times. if his barn had done well, so the crops have come up so well, the harvest was good, I will do my harvest, I will do this, I. It's all about him. Egocentrism will not do well in marriage. That's just the basic truth, because marriage is what about giving. It's about sacrifice. About your spouse to be is an assignment. And when you get married, he or she is an assignment to you. You're supposed to do a lot to better the lot of your spouse. So it's a lot of work there, and a generous person, selfless person, somebody's giving, somebody who's ready to part, no matter the expense. It's about, give me, I give you. That's how it is. Any relationship that is not that way, a symbiotic relationship, will not last. Most relationships today that are breaking here and there is because it is a parasitic relationship, when you are just like a mere parasite, on perhaps your spouse to be, or when you're already married, to your spouse, he just sees you as it, come take it. You're not contributing it to the table. Then here you are. That relationship, has some issues. Well, I have to move, as fast as possible, because I don't want to take this topic to the next video. So next is, what is the person visionary? Is he hopeful? What plan does he have for himself? What plan does she have for herself? I mean, it's not enough to exist as a human being and just walking down the place, becoming an accident on the people's ways. It's not enough to see, attributes and people doing exploits. People who are visionary, people who know their goals in life, people who know where they're heading to in life. And you want to put yourself in their own mold? You are not cut out for that. You're not designed for that. You're not wired for that. Everyone has the way God wired us. The Bible says in Psalm 139, and it says we are fearfully, 13:14, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Fearfully and wonderfully made. And this distinction, each one of us is different. Each one of us is different. So we are cut out for something, different. And you're going to see somebody there, and who has excelled, perhaps identified this, area in life, purpose for living, and he's executing these, steps that lead to success, and he's successful. Then you want to put yourself in his shoes or her shoes. What are you cut out for? As a girl, what are you cut out for? Young man, do you know what you're meant to be doing in life? And let me tell you something. Every effort committed or devoted to something you are not cut out for, it's like a waste of time. You're going to come back to the T-junction at the end of the day. And the T-junction is the point where you left off. We zoomed off on somebody else's track. Find out your purpose in life. Does this person know his purpose? Does your spouse or spouse to be know his purpose in life? Where are you heading to? Usually I make this illustration. It's like getting to a motor park, and for those who are familiar with the way public transport works here in our own African continent, perhaps beyond, you get a tout, backing out the route, whatever destination you're heading to. He's shouting, calling for passengers to get into the vehicle. But it never mentions the direction, never mentions anywhere. Just come in, sit in. Nobody's saying, asking, where are you heading to? Many marriages are like that. The man has the money, so he picks the woman into his home, but there is no, code of ethics, no direction, and at all. And I tell you something, such marriages that are like biological, or maybe I should say accident. Let me just say accidents that are waiting to happen anywhere. So there must be real serious vision. Someone must know where he's heading to in life. Next point you want to look at is this spouse or spouse to be, is he teachable? Is he teachable? Is he corrigible? Is he open to correction? There are people who get offended when they're corrected. Some people, they fail to understand that in life it's a continuous issue of learning, unlearning, and relearning. Some of the things we learned in the past have expired. Some of them are no longer useful. So life is about continuously learning, unlearning what has expired, and relearning what is current. Is your spouse, is your man, is your lady that type? Is he corrigible? Is he someone that gets hurt and offended if he's corrected or put right? Watch out. Watch out. Those are the things you will have to assess. No one is saying that all of these things must be right, must be done before you get into marriage, but at least these are things to, in your list of direct assessment method. These are the list of things that you're going to be looking at, in the list of things to consider when someone approaches you want to marry. And let me use the opportunity and say to ladies who are watching, if you read the book of Isaiah chapter 47, verses 7 and 8, Isaiah 47, 7 and 8, the lady there said, I shall be a lady forever. I'd like to use this opportunity to tell you, you will not be a lady forever. There are times that you will be off the shelf. No more shelf life, or perhaps a reduced shelf life. Your shelf life depends on time and, of course, relationship with God. Your shelf life, I'm going to repeat that. Your shelf life depends on time and, of course, your relationship with God. And so, if you're not adding value to yourself and you think you'll be a lady forever, the time will come, you're off the shelf. You expire. You could be on the shelf and to be given out as obsolete or, rejects. So something, make hay while the sun shines. Make hay while the sun shines. It's not about turning everybody away. I'm enjoying myself. I don't want to be mortgaged. Nobody should go and mortgage me in his house. A time will come, you're looking out for husbands. I'll feed myself, I'll clothe myself, I'll take care of my children. Let me just bear your name. It's in the scriptures. So they make hay while the sun shines. While people are approaching you, follow this direct assessment method, if you need to. If it is not DDM, direct divine method, for the direct assessment method, and get married on time. Well, one of the points we want to look at is how does this person react to corrections, especially in public? Some people do not like, to be corrected in public. What is that? Is it vengeful type? I'm giving it back to you the way you gave it to me. What is that? Is it there in him or her? These are issues that should be confronted and then corrected. I do believe sincerely that anyone can do well, if there's a thorough understanding. Knowledge is important. Knowledge is important. Whoever rejects knowledge, God rejects them. In fact, the Bible said in Proverbs 12, verse 1, that if anyone who, rejects knowledge, rejects instruction is stupid. One of the versions of the Bible says so. Is stupid. Knowledge, constantly acquiring knowledge. You don't become a stinking water that, this is discarded. People who acquire knowledge, often and on, are people who are always fresh with fragrance in their character. All right, let's quickly look at this. How tolerant is the person? Now, usually I tell my counselors you have to try out the quarrel test. Have you quarreled before? Have you had an opportunity? I was trying to tell you, it's important that you do courtship, not dating. Courtship is all about having a time to study yourselves and all of that, not instrumental wifery. You don't get into sexual relationships or things that ought not to be when you are not married. That's what they call dating. All of the things that a married man will have for his wife or from his wife is what unmarried people have. And not too soon, too long after that, of course, there's going to be a breakaway. No commitment, so nobody holds anybody together. There was no wedding, no marriage, and all of that. It's just let's be sleeping together, going here and there in the name of dating. Biblically, we're talking about courtship, the process of understanding. Joseph lived with Mary in the same family compound, but no, there was no sexual relationship. Rachel lived in Laban's house, when he was, Jacob was in Laban's house when he was going, for his sweetheart, Laban, Rachel. But, of course, there was no such, illicit relationships. These are things people do and think, well, I'm testing my compatibility. Compatibility depends on time. It's not automatic. When situations change, when conditions change, a person that was compatible at the time of, what you call dating will no longer be compatible. Circumstances of life makes people compatible or incompatible. And so we're not going to look at that and say, well, here I am, whatever you will do with me when we are not married. I want to trust God that by the grace of God, when you look at all of these things put together, what are you supposed to do then? A young man approaches you, for a lady, I want to marry you. Okay, you test check him, take him. Okay, this young man, wonderful. Thank you for coming. Oh, God bless you. And then on your own, you test check him. Point number one, how committed is this person? No, this type, he's just come to church and go, that's all. No, nothing, no commitment in church. Not a serious type. Not in any group in church, not doing anything. This one can throw a lady out of the home any day. That's it. Okay, suppose he's doing these things and he's deceitful. Suppose he's just camouflaging. This is still the time to search things out. All right, point number two, the young man has come. So what is his maturity? Maturity level. We're talking about maturity in terms of what? Preparations. We're talking about maturity in terms of his spiritual, life. Talking about maturity in terms of his choice, capacity of choice, and all of that. I'm talking of choice because there are options. Decisions are strictly taken by men. Choices are made by babies. Because there are options. Take your mind to examination question. There's 5 options, choose one. There are options, but in decision making, there is nothing like options. So, men take decisions. Is this person man enough to take decisions? Or is looking for what? Options from his parents or friends or neighbors or relatives to be able to decide how to treat his wife or to treat her husband or something. This is very, very important. All of these issues from things we have listed, test check the man one by one. No one is going to score 100%. Usually I said limit this to 10. No one is going to score 100%. Okay, somebody may score, 70, 80%. Good. It's a likely person. Okay, so what do you do next? There are some questions you couldn't answer in the course of your courtship. How is your family, this and that. There are questions you may or not be able to satisfy you. That is question mark. You mark a question mark. The one that he has passed, you take it right. The one they didn't get right, it's not like that. Take it wrong. At the end of the day, you take a score. 6 or 7 over 10 is a very good score. What about the areas we're marking, question marks? Give it some time. You study him. Give it some time. Find out more things about him. Give her some time and all of that. By the time you know it, you will be able to come up with, yes, I have this assurance. Remember, you're using direct assessment method. If it's a direct divine method, you already know it in your spirit because it's a revelation of God to you that this is your spouse or spouse to be. All right, so I thank you so much for listening. But before I go, let me warn you who is good at packing it up. Just if you pack it up, no matter what it is. There's something that is called in French language cry de coeur. Cry de coeur. CRIDECOEUR. Cry de coeur. It's a threat, that kind of a threat that they threaten her doesn't mean it. It's like a woman saying, I'm packing out of this house. I'll pack out of this house now. It's saying it to get an attention. Doesn't really mean it in the heart. You must be aware that your spouse or spouse-to-be might be applying the cry the coeur principle on you. So you don't say, okay, you've said it already, now come and pack and go. I throw you out of my house or something. God will bless you. Make sure you don't get engaged or marry an abusive husband, an abusive wife. You will die prematurely. That's not the will of God for you. Some of these things, that's why you need to take pains to make your choices. I pray that God Almighty will preserve you as you get into relationship. May your relationship be blessed. Because of you, will be a blessing. Whoever marries you shall be a blessing. Proverbs 18:22 says that, if you marry a good wife, you're going to get blessings out of it. What if you marry, whosoever find it a good thing, find a favor from the Lord? What if it's not a good thing? You are the one to say the rest. Thank you so much for watching. And for those who are listening to the audio version, thank you so much. By the grace of God, the fifth edition of this recording is going to be coming up, and I'm going to take up one of those. Perhaps I'll spend that time answering the series of questions that have been coming in and the inquiries that are being made. Again, I want to say, remember, we are on YouTube now. We are on YouTube now, and maybe you need to, on the screen, there's going to be the channel, YouTube channel that you can find us. All right, the Facebook is Benjamin Eden, or Relationship and Family Life Advancement and Advocacy Foundation. You can also get me on the number 0803 1908031. Remember, I said WhatsApp messages only. I wouldn't want calls because this line is already a busy one. I sincerely appreciate you for listening. Write in your questions. We can interact together. It's not a know-it-all kind of, this is an interaction, because circumstances and situations make people change. Change is a constant thing with people. God bless you and thank you. I appreciate you for listening.